Hey everyone, it's Michael. I hope you're doing well today. I want to tell you something first and foremost before I get into the review. I said this in my previous review for Smile. I've got a little bit of some kind of cold or something, so I might get a little coffee or a little raspy, more raspy than now in this video. So we'll see what happens by the end of it. But usually these game reviews end up being pretty lengthy. Maybe not this one because there's less gameplay stuff to talk about or complain about or anything like that. Anyway, let's talk about the Quarry from 2022. This is a newer horror game from the folks who put out Until Dawn, and I'm assuming the Dark Pictures anthology, which I'm currently playing through. I just played House of Ashes, I reviewed that. Never played Until Dawn, was not impressed with the story when I used to see the videos from people online. Generally, now mind you, I haven't finished really anything but House of Ashes from the Dark Pictures anthology. Generally, I don't think these guys really make scary games. I don't really think they have much atmosphere to them either. They have tones, they have jokes, they have characters, and that's really their stronghold. It's kind of like Stephen King's work. I don't really get scared by Stephen King's books, or his movies, or anything like that. Really, it's you attach yourself to the characters, and then you go into panic mode hoping that they make it out of the situation they're in, or they're able to deal with the monster in the closet. That's typically how I look at Stephen King work, and a lot of novels and that kind of thing from people like Richard Lehman. But a lot of people can pull that off, a lot of people can't. The Quarry is a great example, just like House of Ashes was, that even if the story is really not completely there, like in a great way, which I think this has a better story than House of Ashes by the end of it. Just because that's the case doesn't mean that they didn't really pull through on characters. I think the Quarry's strongest things about it, one of the strongest pieces of this game, is the writing. The storytelling. It is fantastic. It is fantastic. That is really the reason to be here. Of course, these are basically like playable movies. This, Until Dawn, Heavy Rain, stuff like that. Beyond Two Souls. These games are here for you to press buttons and do QTEs, quick time events, if you don't know what that is, during watching a movie. That's basically what these are. But these also have segments too, every chapter, where you have to walk around and look for like tarot cards in this game, kind of scattered around this camp. Now, let's get into the actual plot of The Quarry. I really enjoyed this. It felt like as a big fan of Friday the 13th and like Sleepaway Camp and a lot of these old 80s slashers, it felt like a great throwback to summer camp movies from the 80s and franchises that you and I love, but it wasn't like a serial killer game. It actually has some cool things in here. I will not spoil anything in this review, no matter how long the review is. I won't spoil anything for you because I want you to go in blind just like I did. I knew a couple of things like from the first hour of the game. I didn't know what the monsters look like or anything like that. And I want you to know that too. So I will be kind of vague in some portions of this game, or in this review. But otherwise, I really hope you check it out. The Quarry shocked the hell out of me, because when I saw the cover of the game, I was like, is that Lin Shaye? And it is. Lin Shaye is in this. Ethan Suplee, who played in American History X, and he was in Boy Meets World as, I think his name was Frankie. He's used to be a really big, chubby, fat guy, who was funny, genuinely funny. I think Ethan Suplee is a good actor. And he kind of left acting for a long time, and he got into health stuff and bodybuilding, and the dude is fucking huge. I love Ethan Suplee. He's such a big influence on my life. Kind of like Henry Cavill, that he makes me want to get in shape, and I resemble more him than Henry Cavill. I wanted to get more into working out and stuff over the previous years because of Ethan Suplee and how proud I am of him and how far he came along with his life and his choices for his family. His story is very encouraging. If you haven't heard about it, you should go look into it. But I saw both of them. I saw Ted Raimi was like a main actor in this game, and he totally is. He's more prominent here. Yes, Ted Raimi, Sam Raimi's brother, is more prominent in this game as an actor, who's a good actor, by the way. I like him in his little bit roles he plays in other horror stuff and just in previous movies over the years. He's more prominent in this game than Lin Shaye is, but Lin Shaye is here quite a bit. Let's see, who else do we have? Lance Henriksen is in here. I don't know if I mentioned his name already. If you don't know him, Pumpkinhead, so many other franchises he's a part of. He is one of the great American treasures. I was surprised to see him here, because the idea of him being at the age he is at and doing video game shit, and I'm assuming this is mocap for everybody in the game, that would surprise me if it wasn't, because of how beautiful the game is typically, and how good the facial acting is on these character models. I'm assuming that Lance Henriksen had to walk around, the classic actor that he is, just like Lin Shaye, have to walk around with a suit on has little balls all over it. I assume that's what happened. And I commend him for that. Who is somebody else that I know in here? Well, you have the one guy that played, I think his name was Dave, in Halloween 2018. He's the guy that put the firework or whatever inside of the pumpkin and blew it up. The one who said something along the lines of, weren't Michael and Lori brother and sister? And Allison is like, no, that's just a rumor that people spread around to make themselves feel better. This guy, I liked him in Halloween 2018. He's one of my favorite characters in that movie. But this is the thing. He really showed up for this movie, or this game. I don't know how long they filmed this. I don't know how long they worked on it. I don't know how long it took to make something like Until Dawn, or The Quarry, or The House of Ashes, or any of that kind of thing. But I will tell you, this young man here, he deserves to have his name brought up. I'm going to bring it up really quick, because I think he totally 1000% deserves this being my favorite character in the game. Miles Robbins. He plays a character named Dylan in this game. He is phenomenal. He is so good with his comedy. I think everybody in here gave a wonderful performance. I mean, everybody. Every single person in the game gave a really great performance and a believable performance. Before I get into the story, I want to cover all this stuff because I think it's really the big hook that this game was going for in a good way for all these big names in here. This guy, Miles Robbins, was my favorite character in the game, Dylan. And I love him. I think his jokes, his humor, he is so easily lovable. And the kind of stuff that this poor guy goes through in this game is truly horrific. It's truly horrific, depending on your choices. Of course, this is one of those games where as you watch this quote-unquote movie game, you have to make choices and choose to do this and choose to do that. And it's kind of sad where a lot of the story goes and the kind of screw-ups that I made playing the QTEs and how I got too many people killed. And then you have people like one that I have not seen in a very long time, but she is just as good now as she was back in the day. Brenda Song. Yes, from Sweet Life of Zack and Cody on Disney Channel. If you loved her back then, you will love her even more now. She is still beautiful. She's still really funny. She, to me, is one of the best female comedian actresses or whatever in the entire planet right now. I think she's still great. She's still talented. She does a great job here. Really one of the biggest, best female characters in video games in recent years, in my opinion. I think she's totally, you can root for her. And it's bizarre to me that Ashley Tisdale from High School Musical and Sweet Life of Zack and Cody was in House of Ashes. And I'm assuming Dark Pictures Anthology is made by the same folks who made this. I believe I heard that. The fact that that was the case, the fact that Brenda Song and Ashley Tisdale worked with these folks, blew my mind. It's like a Sweet Life of Zack and Cody get together. I would love to see Dylan and Cole Sprouse in these at some point. But there are so many people in this game that you will know from movies. Again, Lynn Shay, if you don't happen to know the name, she's from The Conjuring, or no, excuse me, the Insidious movies, and she was in the original Nightmare on Elm Street as the teacher. I love her voice. She's very good here. It was very much a different type of role for her. I'm used to kind of seeing her as the relatable person, the relatable character, because she's such a sweet lady in real life, it seems. Anyway, I had a blast with this game. It is a buggy mess. I managed to figure out, apparently some games that aren't Call of Duty are playable offline on the Xbox One, which, by the way, I'm reviewing the Xbox One game. I don't know if there's a PS4 copy, but I'm reviewing Xbox One, not the newer consoles like Series X or whatever, which I think is part of the problem. I could be wrong, but maybe it's part of the problem, maybe it's not. We'll see. So for me, I loved so much about this game. I really did. And I'll get into the story in just a minute. But there is so much to say about how well made this was, how well crafted it was. But I do have nitpicks and gripes. But as a tribute to the 80s, as a tribute to summer camp stories, even if it takes place now, it's truly wonderful. It's kind of like if the CW, before they went all woke, if they made an actual video game that was good, like the first season of, or the first two seasons of like Arrow, or like the seasons like 3 to 5 of Supernatural, if they did something like that in a good way with good music and everything, that is what the Quarry reminds me of in a great, great compliment of a way. Because I used to love a lot of CW stuff. I think they can make really good content. They just have dropped the ball so much for the sake of political nonsense that they've ruined it. The Quarry is not like that. The Quarry is truly fantastic. It truly is. It's not perfect, but it's truly fantastic when I played it offline. Maybe there are some updates that corrected a lot of the issues, I don't know, but for me, I've seen other people complain about this stuff too as I looked into them since last night when I finished the game. So let's get to the story now. I think it's worth time after like 10 minutes of talking about really all the other stuff that people don't care about. The Quarry is essentially about a group of counselors. Well, let's really start off with the prologue. The prologue is about a boyfriend and girlfriend, Max and Laura, who are driving at night to go to this place called Hackett's Quarry, which is the name of the summer camp that they'll be counselors at, right? And when they're going out there, they almost hit something in the road, some kind of beast or monster. They go off the road, they wreck, and Ted Raimi shows up as a cop with some blood on the side of his neck for some reason. He shows up and he's kind of rude. He's kind of rude, kind of mean, kind of talking down to them. And he helps them get out of the ditch that they fell into off the side of the road with his car. And he essentially tells them, I want you to go to this other hotel thing instead of going to Hackett's Quarry. Wait till tomorrow, whatever. They won't do it. They decide to lie to him and go off anyway. They end up at Hackett's Quarry, the actual building for the summer camp. Really the main office of the summer camp where Mr. H, who runs the summer camp, they find themselves at his office. And when they kind of wander around, things go horribly wrong down in the basement. There's something down in there. They think it's just a person they're going to try to rescue, and it does not turn out to be that. It's a very horrifying situation of being trapped in the woods and stuff. Now, again, this game is not scary. It's really not. And moments like this that should be more scary really aren't. There might have been like one or two scares that really I don't consider to be jump scares because the game tried to build an atmosphere around them. If you earn it, I'm cool with that. This game tried to do that. And there are a couple of moments where I think it really landed. I really believe that. Towards the beginning, in the prologue, had one of the best scares I've ever seen in my life. Involving, I want to say camera work is really the best way to describe it. I thought that was great. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. I'm being so vague, you probably don't. But let's go into the actual story that we focus on. That prologue is kind of secluded most of the time from the rest of the game, but it factors in. Our main story picks up after the events of the summertime. The kids have shipped off in the school buses to go home after a couple of months of being at summer camp, and the rest of the counselors are about to bag up their stuff into a Jeep or a van and leave, right? Now, Mr. H, the one who runs Hackett's Quarry summer camp, is played by David Arquette. Yeah, he's in this quite a bit. And that was cool. I was surprised to see him here. It's, to me, probably his best performance since the first Scream movie. Or really not even that, but he wasn't in that one that much. But since the Scream franchise, I guess. I love him in this. I think he's really good. He plays Mr. H. He's a notable character. He has some family issues I don't want to tell you too much about. Kind of important for his character. And he seems to be a little paranoid. He's trying to rush these teens that are working as counselors at this camp out the door. He's trying to get them going, and apparently one of the vans break down because one of the characters, named Jacob, decides to mess with it because he wants to have his summer fling continue with another girl that he has a crush on who's just a total scumbag. Well performed, well acted, but a scumbag writing of a character named Emma. And Jacob deliberately sabotages his van, not realizing that the reason Mr. H is kind of rushing them out is apparently there is some kind of monster creature feature thing that's going to happen at this location in these woods. And he doesn't want to tell them too many details, but after he talks with everybody, including the kind of counselor he really loves and respects who works with him all the time named, I believe, Ryan. I think his name is Ryan. Who's a younger black guy. He's kind of a secluded loner. Really cool character. I like him a lot. He tells Ryan, like, I need you guys to stay in the cabin. I need you to lock all the doors, close the windows, stay in there, do not come out. Because there is something happening I don't want you involved with. I don't want you guys to get hurt. And Ryan takes him serious. Everybody else does not. There's a group of like 6 or 7 people. I'll get to all the characters in a moment. But that was the general premise of the game. And it is a creature feature. Like I said, it's very 80s themed. The music in here is modern day music, and some of it's just, remakes of old music that that you'll love. Classic like 40s and 50s tunes, and even 60s music that I think you'll love too. All of that is fantastic. Every single song in here, I think, really fits the game, really fits the tone and the mood of what they're going for. this is not just a straight-up horror game. It has a ton of improv humor in here, which is actually good. These kids and the directors and everybody else, the writers, they knew what would work and what wouldn't. And the jokes and the banter in here are really what make this come to life, in my opinion. It made me laugh so much while playing this. And I think that's why this game has been the most well-received, in my opinion, when I look at the community of fans for this kind of company game, like Until Dawn and stuff. Even the people like myself, who never played Until Dawn but weren't impressed with what we saw, that eventually I will jump into it because of how much I liked this and House of Ashes. Even the people like myself, who have no respect really for Until Dawn, look at this and say, you know, there's a lot to be said about how much they improved by the time this game came out. The Quarry is definitely a massive improvement to what I've seen from this company so far. And I respect the hell out of that. That takes a lot of talent to really develop your company into that, and to change and to do better on your work. This is a great example of that. So let's see, what can I talk about next? I guess we'll talk about the characters. Like I said, you had Jacob and Emma. Jacob is kind of a douchey football player, but he's not a total asshole. Like, he's a likable guy. I like him, even though he's a little selfish. But he's not really completely selfish. Does that make sense? Like, he loves Emma. He wants to stay with Emma. Emma could care less. She is an awful character, but she's supposed to be. She is the one rare example of, let's kind of make a kind of a trope in this for horror and for slashers that we really don't do in this kind of thing. Most of the game does not follow tropes, but they do with Emma, and for good reason, because of the things that come from that. Let's see. We have Nick and Abby. Nick is like a British guy. Why the fuck is he working at the camp? Why, of all people, would you have a British guy at your camp? It just kind of surprised me. I don't know, maybe he's an immigrant. I don't know. But he was cool. I liked him. He's not one of my favorites, but he's a good character. Well performed, like I said. And then you have Abby, who's played by Ariel Winter from, I think it's Modern Family, I believe. And she's talented. I've seen her in some other stuff. I'm starting to lose my voice. She's talented. I've seen her in some other stuff. And she's good. She's a good actress. She's good here. She's kind of a loner type too, but she has a thing for Nick. Nick has a thing for her. So they kind of have the little couples in this game. And I liked all that too. We have Caitlin, who is kind of Jacob's best friend type of character. They may have something going on between them, but not really too much the way the game plays out. Caitlin is played by Brenda Song, and she's kind of a silver-tongued type of character, and I love her. She is the opposite of somebody like Emma. I think you can truly care about her. Really, really good character. I rooted for Caitlin the entire time. Out of all the females, I think she's my favorite. She is so cool. She's a badass. She's strong. And Brenda Song is just, in general, a funny person. I really love that chick. I miss seeing her in things, just like I do with Ethan Suplee. Let's see, some of the other characters. I don't want to talk too much about the villains or people who are supposed villains, like the Lin Shaye character. Yes, Lin Shaye is a potential villain in this game. You have Lance Henriksen and that person in that group of people. Because while this whole monster invasion thing is happening, we don't really know what it is, and I don't want to tell you what it is, but the monster design is freaking awesome, by the way. It's one of my favorite monster designs of this particular creature that I've ever seen. And it would be so scary as a movie, but it's really creepy here. It'll genuinely put a chill down your spine sometimes because of the design of the monsters in this game. I'm not going to tell you what they are, but it's a classical monster that you know of, that you've heard of, and the execution of that, the new building around the lore for this creature is phenomenal. I love it. I love every bit of that. Even my wife, who does not like horror, was in the room reading a book and got sucked into the story, was asking me character questions, was asking me what happened here, what happened there, what choice you're going to make. We were making choices together in the game. We had a blast. We had a total blast playing this the last couple of days. And I played the majority of it the day before yesterday on New Year's Eve. I finished it. It's the last game I finished ever on New Year's night. New Year's Eve to New Year's Day night. And that was totally a blast. I'm glad my wife liked it as much as I did. Let's see. Ethan Suplee is part of that group, too, of the rednecks that happen to be wandering around in the woods that may or may not be hunting the monsters and the kids. We don't really know. The game tells you over time what happens with that. But they're a little bit different. They're not your traditional wrong-turn redneck types. They're just people, just trying to do stuff. But their story as a group is very interesting. Let's see. Who else was in that group? I don't really have anybody else. Like I said, I talked about Ryan as a character. He's the young black guy that's a loner type. I like him. The podcast he listens to that they play over the credits at the end of the game is fucking awful. We have Dylan, my personal favorite character. Dylan is the shit. I love this guy. Again, Miles Robbins plays him. He reminds me in this performance of a young Ryan Reynolds. And he kills it. He is so funny. He is just such an incredible, versatile actor. When he is scared, you believe it. When he's funny, you believe it. He sells the Dylan character. It's very much like that character from Halloween 2018. But that's like complaining about Ryan Reynolds, because Ryan Reynolds typically plays the same person in every movie. Or Sam Jackson or Denzel Washington. It doesn't bother me as long as it's good. Or as long as the movie's good, you know? This kid's going to go places. I really think he should. I really hope they do something with him in other things, like the Exorcist reboot or something. I don't know. The graphics of the game are something I have a complaint about. So again, I played this on Xbox One. The videos I saw from people like Normal Difficulty, who's really the only streamer I watch aside from Razorfist here on YouTube. Normal Difficulty is absolutely hilarious. I recommend him highly. He played this game, I think, during October when it released. I watched the first hour on his channel before I decided to pick up the game, because I thought it was going to be some kind of small-time thing. No, this is like an 8-hour-long story, which is great. You got your money's worth. It was like $40 or $50 for an Xbox One copy. When he played it, the graphics looked absolutely incredible. And I noticed with this game and with Saints Row that I recently played and finished, Saints Row had the same issue of every time I turn the camera a little too fast, I get these weird black dots that are supposed to be the quote-unquote shadow or motion blur. And in either game, I couldn't turn that off. I tried. Now, Saints Row, I thought maybe it was just a glitch of some sort. It has a very big amount of bugs in that game. But I couldn't turn it off here either. So I have a feeling it's just new-gen games playing on old-gen is the issue here, I guess. I don't know. But then I started seeing other bugs. Great example. There is some kind of glitch about halfway through this game where every time the camera angle changes and then cuts back to certain characters, their hair model that's attached to the body has to, like, reset. And it happens so often. So often. The hair will, like, jump around. And it's the funniest shit I've ever seen in my life, but it ruins the tension of the game. That's a big, big problem that I saw so much in the second half of this game. Again, I had this playing offline. Maybe there's an update that fixed this. I don't know. Another issue I had was that I would constantly see when I would go through like rooms, like a storehouse or something, and I would go and pick up a document. The document wouldn't load. Like, I could read the stuff because they'd bring it up on the side of the screen like they do in House of Ashes. But, like, I couldn't physically read the shit on the paper. Like, the paper didn't load. It's just a black cutout space on the screen, and everything else around it loaded it. But that particular spot where the paper is supposed to load for you to read that too, it ain't there. And as the game went on, later on I had moments where you clearly were supposed to be able to see somebody's face doing something, and it would be like almost like a black shadow instead. Again, that general, like a cutout, like a cutout from a piece of paper. Like you cut out something out of a magazine, like a coupon or something. It was almost like that. And that happened quite a bit in the second act of this game, or the second half of this game. And that really put me off. It kind of ruined it. There was one more thing I wanted to bring up that really pissed me off too. There was a massive event that we'd been building to through the entire damn game that I was so on the edge of my seat of, and my wife was too. And the game skipped a bunch of the moments, and like 2 characters died, and I don't know why or how. Like, everybody just started kind of giving me information later on how they died, but it wasn't like the game decided to do it that way. It just happened because of some kind of bug or glitch or something in the final product here. Again, there might be an update that fixed that, I don't know, but it really pissed me off and it bothered me. And now I have to go look up those things to find out what happened to those characters that I love so deeply. There is one character in here that I am 1000% sure that I was not able to save because you're not supposed to be able to save them, which really bothered me. I tried everything I could in that situation. I did not win. It was a shame. But overall, the graphics still look good for an Xbox One game. Just like Saints Row, I think, as much as people hate it, as much as I hate a lot of it, that game looks fantastic. This game looks fantastic. The Quarry might be one of the most beautiful games I've ever played. Some parts of it get a little too dark. I don't know if it's my almost 30-year-old eyes or what, but I'm having times where I had to update the brightness quite a bit in this game so I could see, But then that seemed to ruin the graphics a little bit. So I was like, well, shit, what do I do? So I was either play in the dark, which might be a defense by some companies to hide up the character models, hide up the look of some things. I don't know. But it kind of seemed like what was going on here when I would mess with the brightness. Maybe it's a glitch, maybe it's a bug, I don't know. But something happened there, I don't know. There's really not much more to say about this. I loved this game. I loved the majority of it. I think it's very flawed because of the issues that happen. But the number one thing to come to for this game is the storytelling. It has some truly fantastic plot twists that you would never guess, or that you'd never even think of. And maybe it's because of the media. Maybe it's because you're not doing a movie for an hour and a half where you don't have a whole lot of time to spend with people. Maybe it's because it's a video game. You're doing the same kind of twist we've seen in movies. We're just not used nowadays to getting that kind of storytelling in modern gaming because they just don't give a shit about the story most of the time. That was really impressive to me. This game kept me on my toes. I love the characters. Pretty much everybody in here was pretty great. Not good, great. Even like the actress who played Emma, that I don't like that character. She really pulled through and really did some special stuff with that. There is so much to talk about with this. So many great, iconic moments for video games, in my opinion. And I can't believe that more people aren't talking about how wonderful this was. It was very well received, from what I can tell, from people who are fans of this company, or like Until Dawn, or anything like that, like I said. But it surprises me that this is not more mainstream because of how well it was, how good it was. Yeah, I understand there's a certain niche audience that are going to love this because of having to play a movie, basically. But dude, tell me you didn't get engaged in the story. Tell me you did not get sucked into this with that kind of slow burn feel they had going for here to really develop everybody. I loved it. I think it has so much going for it. I love the creatures and the design for them, like I said. The music is great. The graphics are typically great. Again, even though I'm playing it on technically old gen, even though it's a new game, it's possible that it's only really going to work great on the new Xboxes or the new PlayStations or whatever. It's possible that's the case. And maybe mine's just an old gen situation with the hairs constantly resetting on women's head. It could just be me. I don't know. But I would love to hear what you guys have to say about The Quarry. I think it is fantastic. If you love 1980s summer camp things like Friday the 13th or creature feature type stuff or like Sleepaway Camp, if you like that, if you like storytelling that heavily involves characters, this is a massive recommendation from me. It is such a good game, dude, and you will never forget it, I think. The Quarry. What did you guys think about it? I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments down in the comment section down below. Did you love the game? Did you hate it? Do you like it more than Until Dawn for you folks who played Until Dawn? I'd love to hear all that down below too. This for sure, for me, when I look at like House of Ashes, which is really the only game I've completed from this company, I believe it's the same company, I love this way more. House of Ashes is really solid, but this is way better. This is like genuinely a good game, a very well-made game. The amount of effort and time into the mocap stuff, I can't even imagine. But they really pulled through here, and the cast, every single person, was phenomenal here. I recommend The Quarry if you haven't played it before. It is such a great game, even though it's got its problems that I complained about. It is a massive recommendation for me. I can't see anybody that's a horror fan skipping this game. This will be one of the biggest regrets of your life if you miss this game, I'm telling you. If you're a horror fan, I mean. Because this is noteworthy in the community, in my opinion. Anyway, The Quarry from 2022. What did you guys think about it? Put your thoughts and comments down below. I would love to hear what you all have to say about this awesome game. I'm going to go rest my voice and play some Lego Star Wars 2 because I need it. The game and my voice. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. God bless you all. Have a happy new year. Again, today is January 1st of 2023. I hope you have a wonderful year. I hope God blesses you tremendously. And did you check out The Quarry? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Are you going to check it out? I'd love to hear all that down below too. Thank you guys. God bless you all, and goodbye.